Hi guys, so this is section 12.3, which is multiplying and dividing rational expressions. I already explained this in class, but I wanted to do a video with more examples, or some of the same examples, as well as some different ones, just to reinforce what you guys learned, or if you didn't learn it, hopefully this will help more. So I'll use a different color pen to solve these problems. Again, we're trying to simplify it. The first four will be multiplying, and the next four will be dividing. So the first thing you want to do here is look, can I factor anything out? And the answer is yes, I can actually factor this to 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1, the denominator. And then think of it as a fraction. So if you think of it as just one long thing, so if I have 2x plus 1 over 3 times 6x over 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1. Just think of it as a long fraction where you can cancel down if you need to. But again, you need to think of this side as having parentheses. So you can see I can cancel these out. And now I can also cancel out the 3 and the 6. But if you don't see that yet, what I can do is go this way. And then 2x minus 1. And now you can see I can pull out the 6 and the 3 to a 2 and a 1. And so my answer is going to be 2x over 2x minus 1. And you cannot simplify down the 2x. It doesn't work that way. Okay, so think of it, if you thought of it as having parentheses around, there's nothing you can take out from the top and bottom if you put the parentheses. But you drop the parentheses for your final answer. Okay, so that's the first example. On the top example, here's another one that I did. If I leave x minus 2 over 2x here, when I times it, because I can see that this becomes x plus 2, x minus 2. Okay. If I pull out a negative 8 from the top, I would get an x plus 2. Okay. If I pulled out a regular 8, I would get if I pulled out a regular 8, I would get a negative x minus 2. Okay, and then I wouldn't be able to cancel anything down from here with the negative x. So that's why I want to pull out the negative 8, because then now it gives me something that I can cancel down. So if I put the negative 8 x plus 2 here, and I put the x plus 2 x minus 2, you can see that I can cancel those down, but I can also cancel down this one. And so my answer would be, well, not final answer, negative 8 over 2x, and now I can cancel this down to a 4 and a 1. So my answer would be negative 4 over 1x, or just x. Okay, so just look for ways you can factor down any part of the problem. Here's another multiplication problem. I'll do these one at a time. So on the top, there's nothing I can factor, but on the bottom, I can pull a 2 out. And if I pull out a 2, I have 2 times the quantity n plus 2. And if they give it to you as a monomial this way, so a trinomial, put it over 1, so it's like having a fraction times a fraction. Okay, so I would have 3n plus 2 over 2n plus 2 times, and when I do this, I can factor and leave it over 1. And this becomes n plus 2, n plus 3. And then I can see that I can cancel these two. And so if I think of it as having parentheses, 3n plus 2 times n plus 3 all over 2, and you just leave it like that. Don't waste time by foiling it out. You can just stop there. Okay, here's one more example of multiplying, then I'll go to dividing. So there's nothing I can pull out of these. Again, I'm going to put this over 1. So if I have 2m over m plus 3 times, and I'm going to factor this down, and I leave this in parentheses. It's going to be m minus 5m plus 3. Okay, and these two cancel out. And so when I look at the top, I just left with 2m, m minus 5, over 1, which means I can drop the over 1, and there's your answer. Okay. Here comes some problems here, and I'll switch the light. So I'm going to factor the left side to a plus 2, actually I'll do it up here, a plus 2 times a plus 5. The bottom, there's nothing I can do with that. And then I am going to flip it since it's dividing. I want to flip it by multiply by the reciprocal. But what I'll do is I'll do this first. I'll factor it out first. That way you can see what I did. And now I'm going to flip this and multiply it. So I'm going to leave the a plus 2 times a plus 5 over a minus 6. And I'm going to multiply and then flip this so it becomes a plus 6, a minus 6, all over a plus 5. Oops, it's an ugly 5, sorry. That is a 5. I'm going to cancel these two down. I'm going to cancel these two down. And I'm left with a plus 2 times a plus 6. And that is my final answer. Okay, here's another one. I can pull a 5 out of the top or factor a 5 out and get m plus 2. I can pull a 2 out of here and get m minus 10. I can pull a, looks like a 2, and I'm left with 7m minus 10. And up top I can pull a 7, m plus 2. Okay, so all I did was factor first. Now I'm going to drop this down. So again, 5 m plus 2 over 2 m minus 10. I'll make it nice, sorry. And again, I'm going to change this to a times. So I'm going to flip it and multiply by the reciprocal and go 7m minus 10 over 7m plus 2. And now let's see what we cancel. I can pull out the m plus 2. And I can pull out the 2 if you notice over here. This 2 and this 2. So I'm left with 5, 7m minus 10 over 7m minus 10. Okay. Be careful, you cannot cancel that down because the 7 is on the outside, and if I distribute it in, it'd be 7m minus 70. Okay. Here's another example. So again, I would put this over 1 before we flip it, okay, because this is dividing by. So let's factor. This would be x plus 2, x plus 1, leave that there. On the top here, I could pull out a 5x. And if I did that, I would get x plus 1. Okay, so all I did was factor. Now I'm going to drop this down. X plus 2, x plus 1, all over 4x. And then I'm going to flip, multiply and flip. So I get 1 over 5x, x plus 1. I can pull these out. And left on top, I got x plus 2 over, and now I do want to multiply these two. If I have 4x times 5x, that would become x plus 2 over 20x squared. Okay? And here's the last problem here I got for you guys. So again, I just did a whole bunch of examples for you. I'm going to just put it over 1. I'm going to factor this one, and I'm going to factor this one. So when I factor this one, is x plus 5, x minus 3. This one would be, or I'm sorry, y. I'm sorry. So these are y's. And then on the bottom would be nothing. 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4, oh, and 4 and 5, I'm sorry. Y plus 4, y plus 5. And then I'm going to flip it. So I'm going to drop it down. So y plus 5, y minus 3, all over y plus 4, y plus 5. And I'm going to change it to 1 over y minus 3. I'm going to cancel these out. I'm going to cancel these out, and I'm left with 1 over y plus 4. Okay. So again, what you want to do is factor out what you can, If it's multiplying, just multiply it across. If it's divide, flip it and multiply by the reciprocal. Change it into a fraction. That makes it easy. And cancel down whatever you can and leave whatever's left over. Okay. If you're left with monomials like this 4x, 5x, you multiply it out to 20x squared. If you're left with binomials like this, you can just leave them in parentheses. Okay, or something like this. Just leave them in parentheses. You do not need to waste your time foiling it. I hope this helps. Take care.